Welcome back to Genzinsights. I'm Glenn. Today we have a very special guest, which is my cousin Michael. He's a former D1 college athlete, and he's also a former football coach. I respect the hell out of his opinion when it comes to football and all things that come sports. But let's bring him right into the meeting here. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How excited are you for this upcoming season? I'm thrilled, man.
Dude, I can't tell you how excited I am. It's going to be awesome to have football back. Been missing it like crazy. We had the Olympics to hold us over, but I'm definitely ready for the season to start.
Well, heck yeah, man. Like I said, it's a pleasure to have you on here. For the viewers that are watching, we did go ahead and we made a presentation with some questions to go over for the opening night game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get right into these questions here. But the first question of the day that I do have
Sounds good.
is perfect. And the first question I have is, what is your prediction for opening night versus the Cowboys and the Buccaneers? What do you think the final score will be and why?
Yeah, so I have Tampa winning this game. I don't think it's any secret. I think most people do. This is personally why I think they're going to win. Tom Brady, first and foremost, he's 14-4 in his career in week one. Tampa's going to show up ready to play. I mean, they're just coming off a Super Bowl victory. Everyone's going to be knocking off a little bit of rust, but quite frankly, Tampa's just going to be more prepared. Dak, he's 2-3 week one. He's coming off that shoulder injury. The jury's kind of still out, if it's going to impact him throughout this season or not. The Cowboys, like in recent years, just haven't lived up to the hype, and I kind of feel like Tampa just has the edge in every way in this matchup.
And no, I absolutely understand. I have to tend to agree with you there. But I do have to ask you, what do you think the score is going to end up being? Do you think it's going to be a close game, or do you kind of see a blowout opening night taking place?
I personally think the Bucs are probably going to win this game by at least 10. I think Vegas has the odds at I think the Bucs winning by 8. That's pretty important, actually, considering Vegas usually likes to stick around that 7-point margin, being a one score. I personally feel like the Bucs are going to win somewhere around the likes of 31-17. So that's my prediction.
No, I could definitely see that taking place, and you heard it here first. Michael says, "Go bet the house on the Buccaneers game one." Is that right?
Oh, definitely. If betting was legal where I am, I'd be walking in and putting as much as I could afford down on the Bucs covering that spread for sure.
Yeah, and I absolutely can't blame you. Like I said, I tend to agree. Buccaneers coming off that championship. I believe one of the offensive linemen for the Dallas Cowboys just got hurt this week, or is out with COVID, I believe, actually. So that's a big loss for them. Zeke has to prove that, he's still one of the best running backs in the game. And so does Dak, being a quarterback coming off that injury, like you said. He has a lot to prove, especially with that contract. But let's go ahead and get into the next question. So obviously, Tampa Bay, first year Tom Brady went there, they won the Super Bowl, brought some guys in like Gronk, like Brown as well. Overall, how do you see their season playing out? Do you see them as a heavy Super Bowl favorite? Do you see them as just a mid-playoff team? Or do you think a lot of people will be surprised and they might miss the playoffs? What is your opinion?
Yeah, so Tampa's kind of like a loaded question. I feel like it's so easy to just be like Tampa's going to pick up right where they left off. They definitely have the best odds to make a run at like an undefeated season and definitely another Super Bowl. I just don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. I definitely feel like that's the case. However, it's a long season and anything can happen both on and off the field. We've already witnessed that even in the preseason. They do have a couple distinct advantages. The fact that they have Tom Brady, who's done it time and time again. And they also, their entire team is fully vaccinated, which is something a lot of teams just can't say. So as far as like off the field advantages go, that's a big one. But honestly, like we're all kind of just waiting to see like what year will TB12 actually fall off, I'm not betting against him at this point. I don't think anyone in their right mind would. But that's just a question that lingers, is that arm ever going to start wearing thin? I personally have Tampa Bay going somewhere around like the 14-3 mark. I don't think they'll go undefeated. I think they'll win the NFC South pretty easy, assuming nothing disastrous happens. But I feel like they're probably going to lose early on somewhere, maybe like to like the Rams in week 3. I feel like they'll probably falter somewhere along the road after that, maybe to like a team like Washington, just kind of a solid team, maybe a little underestimated. And then maybe like lose to Buffalo later on in the year, something like that. 14-3 is probably a realistic guess as to what they're going to end up as.
No, I think that's very, you're not reaching too much. You're making sure you're not being biased. You're not feeding too much into the Super Bowl hype or the possibility of a 17-0 season. Obviously, there's a few things that kind of really matter that I want to bring up. I'm gonna stop this share just real quick, so I'm gonna have you back in here. I do want to say Tom Brady, for instance, he did come off of a knee injury last year. No one heard about it. Came after the season. Do you think that really, is that going to make a difference in the impact for him and his game next year? Is he going to be better, especially with more chemistry with the weapons that returned from last year? And just overall, every single defender and offensive player being re-signed. How big of a deal is that to you?
Yeah, so I mean, those are both big impact, right? Like the more time you have as a quarterback with your receivers, even your running back, and just the offensive line returning, those are all huge. For someone like Tom, I don't think it's going to be something that is just like monumental, right? Like it's not like a second year, third year quarterback getting time to develop these relationships. Tom knows what he's doing. Mike Evans, Godwin, they all know. Obviously, he's got the connection with Gronkowski and everything else. My theory is that knee injury probably isn't going to be as hyped like is what some people are referring to when they talk about it. He's a quick release quarterback. He finds his check downs. He reads the defense. He's going to put himself in a position to succeed. He's got a huge arsenal of weapons. They can distribute the ball in 100 different ways, it seems like, when you have a quarterback like that, right? So I would say they're in a great spot once again this year. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And to go back to your point earlier with, is Tom Brady ever going to fall off this cliff? Is his arm going to ever give out? If you look back at history, no one has ever been this good in this, their age 44 season. I don't even think age 40 or 41 season. It's incredible. But like you said, he's so smart.
Yeah.
He's going to put himself in the right position, check downs, quick passes. He's a great leader, obviously, for the offense and defense. And I think he still has a lot left in the tank. At least, 2 or 3 really good years, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like kind of like what you're talking about, right? Like these older quarterbacks, we just don't see it. I mean, there was people like Warren Moon back in the day.
Yep.
I think the last quarterback to go this late was like Vinny Testaverde. I'm pretty sure he played into his mid 40s, maybe. I'd have to look that up to be 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that he was around the same age as Tom Brady when he retired. So the fact that Tom's still going and still winning Super Bowls is pretty insane.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll get to it. But they have a great chance to win it next year. Your record 14-3. I'd love to break down some team schedules. If viewers would like to see it, let us know below. Comment down below. Let us know what teams you want us to go over their schedules with. We'd love to see what we come up with. Overall predictions for all teams in the NFL. See how right we are. See where we were wrong. I think that would be a great thing to do. But we have to get to the next question here, and more importantly than the Buccaneers is obviously the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. How do you see their season playing out? Obviously, with Dak coming off his injury, with Ezekiel not living up to the expectations the last few years, and overall just the team kind of just collapsing. I feel like I don't really like the head coach Mike McCarthy hire. I feel like they could have got someone better. But just let me know, what do you think? What do you think the overall record is going to be for the Cowboys? And do you see them missing the playoffs? Because I have to admit, I might see them missing the playoffs this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the trickiest question in sports, right? Like, it doesn't matter which way you answer it. Someone's going to be upset, whether it's a Cowboys fanboy or, every Cowboys hater out there. Depending on which way you go, you're going to get feedback regardless. So, I mean, this team is consistently overhyped for good reason. They have an immense amount of talent. They probably should have been to more playoff appearances than they've seen in the last decade. That's no surprise. It's hard to pinpoint what Dallas's problem is because it seems like it's different every year, right? Last year it'd be super easy to throw out like, oh, well, Dak got hurt or we would have been there. Like, even back in the Tony Romo days, like, oh, we were one interception away from going to the playoffs. Like, man, I'm telling you, it's probably just something in the water down there in Dallas. You just like, despite their talent, they just can't find the recipe for success. And I mean, now we get to see, Mike McCarthy gets set to kick off his second year. He gets Dak back for the opener, which we didn't know for sure. This preseason coming into it, he's having full practices now. So we'll see if he's actually ready to go. Honestly, I think the biggest question mark in Dallas is going to be their defense. They were at the bottom of the barrel in defense last year, right? Like that was a huge letdown. They hired Dan Quinn to come in and, try and turn that defense around, which I personally think he's a great hire. Not Mike McCarthy, like you said, but Dan Quinn's hire is going to be big. See if all he really has to do is improve that defense just a little bit. And I think they probably make the playoffs. They're in, quite honestly, the weakest conference in the NFL, if you were to ask me. They also added, a few key pieces here and there to right the ship, if you will. I certainly wouldn't be putting any money on Dallas making the playoffs, but I would have to imagine they have a winning season this year. They probably go something close to 500, maybe like a 9-8, maybe even squeak out like a 10-7 record. But I think it's going to be between them and Washington for the NFC East title. And depending on who's able to, overcome the obstacles that are the close games, which Dallas just hasn't done. So we'll see.
No, and I'm actually really proud of you for remembering there's 17 games this year. That still throws me off every time. I'm so used to that 16 schedule. But no, I absolutely can agree. In my opinion, I do agree the Cowboys are in probably the weakest division in the NFC. But I could definitely see the Giants possibly getting that spot in the playoffs. But like you said, we'll have to see. I have to see a lot more from Dak and Zeke and the team as a whole. The defense is probably the biggest problem. But they did get the new rookie. I don't want to say his name wrong, but was it Michael Parsons? Is that his name?
Micah, yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see what he can contribute. Obviously, he's a rookie, but he's going to be a good defender for them for, a few years to come and hopefully a long time to come. But there's just so many unanswered questions about the Cowboys. I just have to see it, but I definitely see them losing game one. And right now, my prediction would be for them to miss out on the playoffs. But another important factor you also said is being vaccinated in the NFL. In all professional sports, the rules are completely different for vaccinated versus unvaccinated players. I think the Cowboys are 93%, so that's very good. But it just takes a few players in the locker room who don't have it, that are important key pieces to really mess things up for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing it with Cam Newton right now, right? Like, not to get off topic, but everyone's saying that's one of the big reasons he's not, finding a spot after being released by New England. I know there's some Cowboys out there who are having a little bit of a hesitation getting the vaccine, especially, we heard from Cole Beasley in the offseason about not wanting to get it. There's a lot of players that feel that way, and understandably so, but ultimately this is their job, and if it costs them a chance, it may be something that they live to regret, but it's definitely a understandable hesitation as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, it's their job and they got to do what's best for the team, in my opinion. So
Absolutely, and by not getting it, I mean, really that's only hurting them. I mean, if they end up on the roster, if they're vaccinated versus another player who isn't vaccinated, they could easily be replaced by the player who is vaccinated. So, they're kind of putting their own job at risk. Not to get off topic either, but I did see that Kansas City's owner said that if anybody, I think he said that if anyone, I believe you just said something along the lines of everyone does need to get vaccinated. Obviously, it's everyone's decision ultimately, but whenever you're putting your team in positions or even your job on the line, it's definitely something you really have to consider right now being in the NFL. But let's go on to the next slide. So obviously Dak Prescott, he got paid 40 million per year. I believe this year he's actually getting paid 70 plus million. I don't know if that's accurate. You can let me know, Michael. But do you think it's worth it? How do you see him bouncing back from this career-threatening injury that was last year? Obviously, also with the pre-camp injuries he had this year, is he worth the money to you? Would you have given that money for him? And do you ever see Dak having the chance to lead the Cowboys to a Super Bowl in his career?
Yeah, so the 40 million per year, that's not necessarily he's going to get exactly 40 million per year, right? That's 160 million over the course of 4 years, so it averages out to 40 million per year. Just to clarify that a little bit, but Dak is almost as much of a mystery as the Cowboys themselves. Like, and it's that makes sense, right? The quarterback is the one who's going to either, reap the rewards or take the blame. That's kind of the nature of the beast. He's got a cannon for an arm. He doesn't always make the best decisions, I guess. You look at someone like Dak's stat line, and his yards per game and stuff like that. And it's hard to like understand how people still see him as someone who may not be elite. But with that being said, I'm one of those people. I don't believe Dak has elevated himself to the status of elite quarterbacks. The money would suggest he is, but the play just doesn't. Honestly, we'll see if this injury has kind of awakened something deep within Dak that has him come out and he's just firing on all cylinders. He knows how close he was to potentially a career-ending injury. But ultimately, Dak's got something like a 36% win rate against teams with a winning record at the end of a season. Not necessarily when he plays them, but those teams that pan out to be good, solid teams over the course of a season, he just can't find a way to beat them. And you know what? That it just means that he doesn't have the ability yet. And that's a big yet, because I do believe he has the talent to be an elite quarterback. He just doesn't seem to have the ability to play up to the competition sometimes. Granted, I know football's a team game, but like I said, I mean, quarterbacks, they're the ones that are going to end up swallowing that pill at the end of the day, whether it's a win or a loss. They're the ones that, the light's going to shine on. So I believe he has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. But there's been a lot of people come through the league with potential and they don't always pan out. Stat wise, Dak's there. The question is, can the Cowboys support him, and can he elevate himself just enough to make this team what everyone wants, or I should say what all Cowboys fans want them to be? I don't necessarily want the Cowboys to be in the playoffs necessarily. I prefer Washington, honestly, as far as that goes. But would I like to see the Cowboys kind of have a resurgence? Absolutely. And I do like Dak. I liked watching him in college. I like watching him in the NFL. Zeke's great. We'll just see if they can put the pieces together. So we'll just have to see.
No, definitely. And I love the statistic you threw out there about his win rate against, actual, good playoff win, good winning teams during the regular season. That's an incredible stat. I didn't know that. Me personally, obviously they didn't have many options. They were kind of forced into paying Dak in a way. I probably would have paid him the money. Like you said, he does have the talent. He has what it takes. He has the mentality. I feel like from everything I've heard that's been reported, he is coming out with that mentality, like you said, where he wants to show that he deserves this money and he's going to earn this money. And I hope that's an attitude he has. I just think that ultimately, like you said, he has to be surrounded by a good defense, a good offensive line, good offensive help. He has to have a good supporting cast as far as head coaching, all coaching goes. I think the Cowboys facility and just how they're taken care of is A1. But they have to get better in putting people in the right positions around him so that they can be successful. I think it would be great for the NFL if they're a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, being considered America's team and probably having more views than any other team. I do think it
Well,
would be a great thing for the NFL.
yeah. So, fun fact for you.
Yeah.
They are a team. However, a recent poll came out. I saw the other day, just browsing articles that I typically read, and they're actually one of the top 10 most hated franchises in all of sports. So there's it's. I mean, they're America's team, but it's closer to 50-50 than people realize. Not everyone's a Cowboys fan, that's for sure. And just a side note about the, Dak getting all this money and stuff. I mean, I know Tom Brady's, 44 now, but he's taking pay cuts to surround himself with talent and make sure that his team's ready to go. And, there's a lot to be said with that type of mentality too. So Dak better, lace up them shoes and be ready to play. That's all I got to say.
No, absolutely. And speaking of Tom Brady, that is going to actually be our last question of today. Obviously 7-time Super Bowl champion, 6 with the Patriots, 1 with the Buccaneers in his first year going there. They actually got to play the Super Bowl and Tampa Bay, which I do think that was a little advantage, but that's just
Oh
how
yeah.
the schedule worked out.
That's
Go ahead. So sorry.
Oh no, didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying that's actually, a really cool thing. We've never got to see that before, where the home team is playing at home for the Super Bowl and ends up winning it. That's pretty awesome.
I'm sure in the back of Tom Brady's mind, he was thinking, I have the chance to do this. This is going to be legendary. So I think he was a great pick for him. I think he really did look back at it, look at all the teams that were available to go to. He picked a perfect situation, an amazing defense, an amazing offense. Plus he got Gronk and Brown in just to solidify that even more. They are a very dangerous team. I do want to say before I ask you this last question for this episode today, I could definitely see us just, because we're talking about the Cowboys and Dak, I could, for some reason, seeing him, go off 4 touchdowns, 30 for 39, 350 yards passing or something crazy now that we're saying, that the Buccaneers are going to beat them.
Well, so, I mean, honestly, he could do that. It doesn't mean the Cowboys are going to win. One thing that is finding a way to lose. So Dak's been a shining star for him as far as stats go, but that doesn't always mean they're winning. And that's what I was saying before. His stats are crazy, but like I said, he's got a low win rate versus legit teams. So,
and I'm sure that the gentleman we're talking about now probably one of the highest win percentages against winning teams in history. Obviously, Tom Brady going into it. Oh, I cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying win percentages, period,
Yeah, literally. But obviously he's going into his 44th season. We talked a little bit just about how no one's really played this long. You mentioned someone who did. Obviously he wasn't winning Super Bowls. He has a great chance to win this 8th Super Bowl this year. If the team stays healthy, they're all vaccinated, stays healthy. How do you see this season playing out? Do you see him playing just as good as he did last year, if not better? And then being, like we've already kind of discussed, you see them as a Super Bowl contender, but do you see them being better than last year? Do you see Tom being better than last year? And overall, do you think they should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year?
So how old is Tom Brady now? He's 44, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just double checking. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like 44, 24, does it really matter with Tom Brady? Like, the thing is, like, we're all waiting to see if Tom Brady can maintain, right? But I mean, who the hell knows when it'll actually be that he'll fall off? My assumption would be that he's the greatest of all time for a reason. He may not have always been the best quarterback any given season, but over the course of his career, there's just no arguing that. I mean, he's the GOAT, man. So honestly, with that being said, I do think that this season will be just like last season for Tampa. They started off slow, which is why I think they'll probably lose one of the first few games this season. They're going to be firing on all cylinders, and especially so, I think, being the first game out, being the headline for the NFL this year. I think they're going to come out swinging. But I do think they'll falter somewhere early on. And this is going to sound weird, but like Tom Brady is not as flashy as he once was. And I know there's people out there that's going to be like, when was Tom Brady ever flashy? Right? Like, the dude's a pocket passer. He's a game manager, but I'm talking like relative to Tom's own game. He is slowing down a little bit, but he's in the perfect place to do that right now, right? He
Definitely.
has he has more weapons than I think anyone probably has had in a very long time outside of Patrick Mahomes. Between the Chiefs and the Bucks, like they're both loaded. But I feel like Tampa has a better defense, obviously. The big question is, can Tom Brady keep the wheels like spinning as fast as they have been since the end of last season? And it's only time will tell. I mean, he's got explosive playmakers. He is the GOAT. Honestly, when you have someone like Tom, you just don't bet against him. So I feel like they are probably the front runners to make the playoffs out of that conference again. I feel like there is the possibility for them to go undefeated. I just don't quite see it happening. But ultimately, if I were a betting man and I had to make a bet, it would have to be Tampa out of the NFC.
No, absolutely. And that was a great soliloquy as well. Yeah, you made very good points there. And I have to tend to agree, and especially with that defense coming back, I think they could be the number one defense in the NFL possibly. They're nasty. They're a great defense, and they go after it. What they did to the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl with just 4 men up top or in the front line was crazy. Mahomes, was rushed or sacked more than I believe any quarterback ever in Super Bowl history. So they have that to go along with, like you said, kind of the perfect offensive situation for any quarterback, even though Tom is in the 44 year. Like you said, I do believe he is declining, but it is a very slow decline for a player who's 44 years old. So all respect to him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. If you guys would like us to talk about Tom Brady and who is the GOAT, why Michael thinks he's the GOAT, who I think the GOAT is, let us know. We would love to make a video about that and explain exactly why. I don't think it's that controversial at this point. 7-time champion with 1 ring with 2 different franchises. He could win an 8th one this year. So we could definitely go over that. We'd love to do that for you guys. Before I let you go, Michael, I do want to just go over one little quick question for you. So let's see how fast we can get through this. I just want to know, what's your Super Bowl prediction for Super Bowl 56? I don't want to know who's going to win the Super Bowl yet. I just want to know, what 2 teams do you predict will make it this year?
At the risk of sounding cliche, I would have to put it right back. So let me tell you this, Glenn. I don't believe, and I'm almost certain, that there has only been one other time in history where the same 2 teams made the Super Bowl back to back.
I believe so. I believe it's only one other time.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, this will be the second time. Like we talked about with Tampa, I feel like, I mean, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL this year. There's no debate about that. That's statistically proven. Barring anything crazy happening, they're probably going to be the number 1 seed. They're going to have the easiest path in the playoffs to the Super Bowl. Green Bay has a chance of maybe playing spoiler, but realistically, I just don't see Tampa falling off that path to the Super Bowl. And then Kansas City, I mean, you just talked about it, right? They were exploited a little bit in the Super Bowl last year. We might see some teams try and do something similar to what Tampa did, but Kansas City put some pieces together to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is a little more protected. I think they're going to come up with a scheme. Andy Reid is an excellent coach. He has been for a very long time. They put some pieces on the O-line, and they're probably going to have a legitimate shot, probably just as much as Tampa. There are some teams in the AFC that are scary. I could see the Browns, as crazy as that sounds still to say, making a run. I could see the Bills. We saw it last year. They played Kansas City really close. And then someone like even the Ravens or the Titans, Julio Jones going over there and everything. I mean, surprises are out there, but realistically, I feel like it's going to be the Chiefs and Tampa again. So yeah, as easy as that is to say, I do feel like that's the case.
No, and I feel like that's how most people feel, and I can't blame you for feeling like that at all. Realistically, I think that's more likely to happen than any other situation, barring any injuries, obviously. I have to say, I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will make the Super Bowl. I do like the Chiefs team a lot. I love Patrick Mahomes, obviously one of the best quarterbacks ever already in his early career, I believe. The only thing that really worries me, I believe the offensive line will be better. And maybe that's all they need. Maybe all they need is that offense to be high powered. But I am still worried about the defense. It's not a horrible defense. I just feel like it's kind of middle of the pack in my opinion. I don't feel like they're dominant in any way. If they could somehow get, a few more defensive pieces, which I don't see them, being able to do this season, I would like their chances a lot more. And another thing is, I'm not predicting the Ravens are going to make the Super Bowl, but I feel like there is a good chance Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback, and he's missed out, a few years, getting bounced out in the first round, or I believe the second round as well. I just believe his time will be coming, and honestly, right at this moment, I have to wait to see the Ravens play again this year. But if they're one of the better teams like they usually are, I could definitely see them having a great chance. Just because I feel like one of these times their team's going to click and they're going to hit and make the Super Bowl. And I'm gonna stop sharing the slideshow, so I'm gonna bring you back in here. But that's honestly my prediction. Is I could definitely see the Ravens actually making the Super Bowl. What do you think about that?
So I would like to agree with you. I feel like Lamar Jackson has kind of shown all of his cards, and defenses. I mean, this isn't college, right? This is the NFL. People are going to adjust. The guy is an amazing talent. I don't think that we will continue to see the same type of dominance that we saw in his first few years. In my eyes, the Browns are far more likely to make it than the Ravens are. And like I said, that's still crazy to think about the Browns, potentially being a Super Bowl contender, but they are, and they're a legit team. They put the pieces together. They have a great coach. They have everything they need to make a run. It's just a matter of, can they basically keep pace with the Chiefs in that shootout, right? And like you were saying, the Chiefs do have some holes in the defense. There's no secret about that. But one thing that some people don't seem to realize is the Chiefs were a few drop passes away in that Super Bowl from making that a way more interesting game than it was, right? So momentum shifted early on in that game due to a few drop passes. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was rushed a lot, and that O-line was exploited, but Patrick Mahomes was still making some throws. There were some drop passes. The defense held enough to make that game interesting. It's a matter of, it's a game of inches, as they say, right? Realistically, it's a matter of just a few small slight adjustments, and the whole narrative could change. So if it were up to me, I would say the Browns are probably the closest competition for the Chiefs, and Green Bay is still the closest competition for Tampa. So
no, and I could definitely agree. The Ravens are kind of they're not a long shot by any means, but there's someone no one's really considering, I don't think, right at this moment besides Raven fans. But no, I absolutely agree. I think the momentum did change fast in the Super Bowl. Even if you just have an offensive line, the Chiefs completely obliterated the Bills, 2 weeks before that, same defense. So we'll have to see. I'm excited to see the new offensive line for the Chiefs. I hope it does make a difference, and I hope if it is a rematch, it's going to be greater and closer than the first, last year. But other than that, Michael, I just want to say thank you so much for hopping on, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. I do want to let the viewers know, if you guys enjoy the video, let us know. Please like this video and subscribe to Genzinsights channel. If you want to see more of these videos, just let us know. We're thinking about making our own channel to discuss NFL and other professional sports as well. Obviously, Michael has a lot of knowledge about NFL and about football in general, being a coach and playing it so long. So it was honestly a pleasure to have you on, man. I'd love to do this again sometime if you'd like to.
Yeah, 100%, man. It was super fun. Enjoy having conversations anytime I can about football and, every other sport too. I know you're more of an NBA guy yourself, but man, it's great to talk sports, especially with, my cousin. So yeah, dude.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, next time. Didn't even think I'll have to change this to my green screen to the NFL logos next time. No, definitely. But no, man, thank you so much for hopping on here. We are going to sign out, but thank you so much for tuning in today's episode of Genzinsights, and we'll definitely catch you on the next one. Thank you.